let's take a moment to figure out why photosynthesis is so important in nature, why it's so important for plants, but at the same time, we use plant for food. So photosynthesis is one of the most important chemical reaction happening in nature. But what does that mean? How does it work in trees? Let's figure that one out. So let's see if we can go and have a look at a few trees. So here we have, I went to find some trees that are interesting. I have here an oak tree. Oh, let's see, there you go. I have here an oak tree. Oh, we can see its leaves. They are amazingly well organized. They're beautiful. They're green. Photosynthesis is happening right here. Now keep in mind that a plant will maintain their leaves all summer long. So in the spring, it creates new leaves to have photosynthesis. During the summer, it will create other leaves if needed, especially if some leaves get damaged. So for example, if you look here, we've got some insect that affected the leaves. Let's see, I had some examples. We can see here some leaves were damaged on the surface. So sometimes if the damages happen during the summer, the tree will say, okay, let that leaf go and I'll create a new one, because there's still a lot of sun in the summer. On the other hand, in the fall, the tree has to figure out something. First of all, it needs energy for the next spring. So at some point it needs to figure out, do I want to spend energy to create new leaves, or do I want to focus my energy that is available from damaged leaves to store starch in the roots, for example, to be ready for next year. The next thing that a tree needs to do is to create the buds for next spring as well. But to be able to create the buds, create and do some storing of starch in the roots, the trees need to focus its energy. And it's more important to do that for next year than creating new leaves this year. You have to keep in mind that in the fall, the days are getting shorter, and therefore the amount of sun available during the day is decreasing. So that is what the tree is figuring out. Now, I know the tree doesn't have a mind, but it can regulate how efficient the chemical reaction is happening in the leaves. So when we have photosynthesis, what is interesting, we have, as you can see, the top of these leaves, the surface is a bit waxy. So what happens is when it rains, the water drops just flow on the leaves. On the other hand, photosynthesis requires carbon dioxide. So the leaves are getting carbon dioxide from under the leaves. So under the leaves, it's a bit more rough, and it's a porous material that allows CO2 to go into the leaves. So in order to have photosynthesis, and we'll look at the formula later, we need two things. We need carbon dioxide, which are collected from under the leaves, and we need water that will be from the roots going on the branches to the leaves. The next question is, what happens if a tree says, okay, the leaf was nice, but I can no longer maintain it. So when a tree no longer maintains the small organelle in the leaves for photosynthesis, then they're no longer maintained, and they are absorbed, or they just decay in the leaves. So what happened is, what makes the leaf green is no longer there. So what happened? The leaves change color. So let's have a look at a few examples. So here you can see we have a maple tree, and here we can see that the tree has decided not to maintain what makes the photosynthesis, and therefore the green parts of the leaves is disappearing. The green moving away makes the leaf change color. So it goes into a yellow and a red. Here I have an oak tree. You can see here the leaves, and if you look, it has a little branch here, and the whole thing is now red. How can this leaf be red? It's because these organelle in the cells are no longer there. Therefore, there's no green here. And what happened is, without photosynthesis, this leaf basically is starting to go away. And therefore, eventually, when there's nothing coming out of this leaf, this one will fall down. And that's when you start to see those leaves that fall down in the fall. So sometimes we have trees that are turning yellow, sometimes red, brown, different colors. And basically these are the colors of the leaves without any green aspect. So if we want to know the exact color of a leaf, it is red in some instances, or yellow, or brown. But those organelles that are the chloroplasts are making the photosynthesis. They are green when they are healthy, and that's how the cycle goes. So what we have to do right now, we need to figure out what is the chemical reaction that is making the photosynthesis. So now we're going to go to the board. So in a moment we're going to go to the whiteboard. We're going to look at what the photosynthesis formula is so that we can understand what's happening in the photosynthesis. Now it is very nice to see you here. Now you were outside and you looked at trees, leaves, and you see how nature works outside. Let's see what is the chemistry of photosynthesis. So we're going to look at a formula and I'll see if I can find an analogy for you. So let's see. You were outside, you look at trees, and we talked about photosynthesis. So when the leaves are green, what happened is, here's an example of the leaf. We have water that comes from the roots and it gets into the leaves. And the second part is we have carbon dioxide gas that is absorbed from the bottom of the leaves. So what we have the two key ingredients for photosynthesis. We have water coming in the leaf. We have the carbon dioxide. Now the photosynthesis happens inside the leaf, inside the plant cells. Here I'm going to talk about the chemistry only. So here with those two ingredients and the energy of the sun, what will happen? We will have the creation of a much larger molecule. This one we call often glucose. So let's see if I can write it here. Now glucose has a specific chemical formula, but if you are thinking of other components making the buildup of a plant, the molecules are very, very similar. So here the photosynthesis is taking the ingredients with this energy, creating a much larger molecule. And here there is some components or some material, something that somehow is a waste. Here I have the formula with water, carbon dioxide. So water is right here, carbon dioxide is right here, and we end up with a much larger molecule and some waste. So I use some of the Legos here to show that the molecule of glucose is a much bigger and complex molecule. And if you look at the Legos here, water here is made of one oxygen, which is one white block. We have two little blue blocks that represent the hydrogen, and we have 6 of them. We have carbon dioxide, so we have carbon, which is the black brick right here, and 2 white bricks that represent the oxygen. And I know that some of those are not the same size. I did not have enough Lego blocks to show, but it's kind of interesting at the same time. So if you were to take these blocks and rearrange them, you could end up with a larger, more complex set of blocks here that represents the glucose molecule. And if you look at all the blocks we had at the beginning, compared to the glucose, there are some blocks that don't fit in the glucose. And the blocks that don't fit here are making the oxygen, which is a waste. So how is this whole photosynthesis formula working in the leaf? I mentioned earlier, we have water coming in, we have carbon dioxide going in the leaf from under. We are creating glucose and other molecules that are making up the structure of the plants, the leaves, sugar. Think of maple syrup that is from the tree sap, which is made of glucose here. And the leftover here is oxygen. So where does the oxygen go? In the leaf. Well, in a simplified version, we have the leaf here. water comes in, we have carbon dioxide going in, and we have the oxygen coming out from the bottom of the leaf. Now, there's something else that also comes out of the leaf, and we have sometimes, actually we have a lot of the time, water that also comes out under the leaf. And this is called the transpiration of a tree. If you go to in a jungle, you will know that it's very humid, and the humidity of the tropical forest is from the water coming out from the leaves. So the leaf is an organ, and it's interesting because you've got everything. It's like an engine, a machine that is working for the plant. We have water, carbon dioxide going in, that gives us the ingredient. We have the photosynthesis with the energy of the sun inside the plant cell. We have glucose, which helps the plant to grow and also to have everything they need to be healthy. And the leftover are being excluded or sent out of the leaf, and it allows the plant to continue. And that is quite amazing as a process. So hopefully you've learned great things. If you have any comments, put your comments here below, and I'll see you in the next video.